Hello, my dear listeners. I hope you are having a fantastic day. I'm probably doing pretty well. That's my guess. I won't know until this day happens. Anyway, I hope you guys are ready, because today we are getting into 5 cryptid encounters. Cryptid encounters are encounters with creatures or beings that cannot be identified through normal means, such as looking at an encyclopedia. These can be anything from wendigos to unidentified creatures to chupacabras, etc., etc., etc. You get the point. So I hope you guys are ready, because we are now going to dig into 5 cryptid encounter stories from Reddit. Enjoy. This happened about 14 years ago. My boyfriend and I went to a graveyard one night because he had told me a story about how he had seen something there. He didn't really want to take me, but I insisted. He said that he had heard stories about the place, and if you go there and sit every night, you'd eventually see it. He said he had finally seen the thing himself on the 3rd or 4th consecutive night that he visited, and that it was man-like and gray, but he'd only caught a glimpse of it and never went back afterward. I remember him saying he had car trouble when it appeared also. Well, I couldn't resist. I wanted to see it for myself. On the 3rd night, we saw it. We were sitting in the dark with the moon being the only source of light. Man, we were dumb, and we both suddenly got creeped out for the first time since we had been visiting this place. We changed our minds about the whole thing and decided to leave and never come back. But, lo and behold, the car, my car that has never had any trouble before, and not again for years after this incident, wouldn't start. My boyfriend was driving that night and kept trying, and it eventually did start up. When the headlights came on full force, we saw it standing right in front of the car. It was about 7 foot tall, and it was gray. In fact, it looked like a moving statue to me. It was kind of bent over, just looking into the windshield at us, and we were freaking the hell out. Finally, it kind of shifted, and the car started. The thing darted off to the left so quick, I knew that if it came to the side windows, we would both be dead within a minute. It was so fast, but it just stood to the side of the car watching us as we drove away. The cemetery was laid out where the gravel road, old country cemetery, went around the whole graveyard in a circle and looped back around, so the entrance is also the exit. We were spinning tires and slinging gravel the whole way around, but when we passed the place where the thing was, it hadn't moved. It had been standing there watching us go around the gravel circle, and it let us leave. But it was looking directly at me. The passenger side of the car was facing it. And I really couldn't make out any of the features because it was dark, but I was overcome with the most severe depression that I've ever felt in my life at that moment when I was looking back at this thing. It was like everyone and everything I cared about in my whole life was burned right before my eyes. The pain and hurt was almost tangible, and it took my breath away in that moment. That night, when I was home and finally able to somehow sleep, I had a dream that the thing was calling to me from the graveyard, begging for me to come back. It was harmless and miserable and stuck in that old cemetery forever, and it was alone, so alone. When I woke up, I was determined to go back to find the creature. But before I could even tell my boyfriend, I got calls from him and 2 of my best friends. All 3 of them had nightmares where the things had brutally murdered and mutilated me. The 2 girls who called me didn't know anything about the graveyard incident the night before. It was so late when I got back home, I didn't tell anyone about it, and just went to bed. My boyfriend dreamt that I had gone back to the place because I felt bad for it, so he drove out there after me. When he got there, he found the thing ripping me apart, tearing me open. For a long time, I had dreams about it saying,
"I won't hurt you, please come back and help me.
I'm suffering." And for a while, I had to fight the urge to go back even after 3 people told me about their nightmares where I died. The pull isn't strong at all anymore. I guess it faded with time and kids and adulting, but I do think about it often, and I do kind of get a little itch to just drive through and, I don't know. It'd be dumb as hell, but there's always been a little nagging voice that whispers about the things we saw that night. It had a masculine physique, but no genitalia, and its eyes were completely black. No irises or pupils or anything. Just black, inky nothingness. I've been searching all these years, but the only pics I've seen that look even remotely like it are wendigos, but not the ones with fur or antlers. Just grayish humanoid sexless thing. The best way I could describe it actually is, it just looked like a statue to me. Does anyone have any idea what this might be? It's bugged me for damn near 2 decades, and any suggestions would be appreciated. Port Orford, Oregon, around 10 p.m. Saturday, December 21st, 2019. I was in bed when I heard knocking on a tree again. It sounded very close, so this time I turned off the TV completely and clapped whenever there was a knocking. The window was open, so whoever or whatever it was could hear me clearly. It stopped and then knocked twice, so I clapped my hands twice. We continued to do this for a few minutes until I decided to make it more complex. 3 claps with the pause, and then 2 claps, for example. The knocking repeated the beats that I was clapping each time. I started to get spooked, so I stopped. Maybe 5 minutes later, I hear something big stomping around the perimeter of my fence in the backyard. I went to the window, but I couldn't see anything. I honestly have no idea what this thing is. I know it's not a person because it's way too big, but it sounds like it walks on 2 feet. Last year, this thing made some type of call at me when I pulled into the driveway. Afterwards, it decided to scream twice at my window early in the morning. Anyone else having similar experiences? Please feel free to send me a message. A couple years ago when I was a child, I've had around a dozen encounters with what I call little people. But I can only remember 3 of them vividly, because most of the encounters were really just me catching a glimpse of the little suckers running through something, then me running after it only for it to disappear behind a wall or some furniture. If I remember correctly, my first encounter was when I was around 9 years old and I was in my room upstairs drawing something. But I decided to go downstairs to get something, and that's when I saw it. A small, dark, humanoid figure, only standing around 2 feet tall. It was humanoid, but not quite human. Its skin was a dark gray, its limbs were very skinny and slightly longer than they should have been, and it had a disproportionately large head. It was difficult to make out any other features because it was full-on sprinting toward the stairs, but since this was the first time I was witnessing something this bizarre, everything seemed to slow down. So it was a running blur of gray, but I was eventually able to make out some of the key features from some other experiences. The weirdest part is that I didn't really get a bad sense of malice from it, as one would expect to get from something this freaky. So instead of screaming or running away, I ran after it, but it disappeared when it got out of view. The 2 other encounters were pretty similar to this. I noticed that it always occurred at the top of the stairs. I had a couple other strange experiences which were less friendly, and one that crossed the line for me. That's a story for another time, but to summarize, when I was around 11, something spoke to me when I was home alone, and that was the only time in my life where I actually feared for my life. So I sprinted out of my apartment and stayed outside until my mom came home, and I wasn't able to sleep for months due to constant noise at night. I'm getting off topic. I just want to know if anyone has had similar experiences, or if someone has answers as to what the hell these things are. Because the only thing I know is that apparently this isn't the first time things like this had happened. My father and aunts have also had experiences with odd, dark entities when they were children, and even adults too. If I ever see these things again, I'll try to snap a pic, but if I can't do that in time, then I'll make an illustration of what they look like. Back when I was about 3 or 4 years old, I lived and still live in the same apartment. Whenever I would walk down the hallway to my bathroom or my mom's bedroom, I would see strange figures in the dark. Not just shadows, but physical beings that I was able to touch. When I turned 6 years old, I didn't see the figures as often as I used to, but one night while I was walking down to the bathroom, I was tripped by one of the figures. It didn't just stick its foot out in front of me or anything like that. Instead, it came up through the floor and grabbed me by my ankles. I fell and hit my head on the kitchen bar to my right and got knocked out. When I woke back up, I saw another figure in front of me, and I immediately covered my face because, as a 6-year-old, I still thought that it made the figures ignore me. But instead of it just going past me, it picked me up and put me back on my feet. To this day, I still don't know why the figure helped me, but I do know that not all the figures were good. Now I don't ever go down that hallway without the lights on, even during the day. I'm new to making posts, so if this trails off, that's why. I live in St. Paul, Minnesota, and apparently there are tall black creatures that walk along the river on the east side of St. Paul. I don't expect you to know where these places are. I've never experienced or seen these myself, mainly because I haven't tried to seek them out yet. I plan on doing that in the summer. It's winter right now. Anyways, I have old-timer friends that say it is real and that they have seen them with their own eyes. I'm pretty skeptical about all this, but they say it's a tall, black creature, roughly as big as a 2-story house. When they get spotted by these things, they run off. Apparently they're shy and don't like confrontation. My grandma has an old friend that lives by the river, and during the summer nights they always walk past her home. My grandma's friend is pretty used to them, but her daughter isn't. My grandma's friend offered my grandma to stay and see them, but she was too scared to see them, and I don't blame her. To be honest, I don't know why she hasn't recorded them. I tried to do quote-unquote research, but I can't find anything on these things. Anyways, the main reason why I think this might be true is because of a friend of mine. I'm currently in high school and am a senior. My sophomore year of high school, I had a one-off friend that I only talked to during that semester. So one day, I'm talking about these things in class, and he blurts out, "I thought I was crazy, because when I used to live in St. Paul on the east side, I would see these things every night." He was visibly flustered when he said that, because he thought he was the only one that was seeing those things. It's currently winter in Minnesota, and I'm going to make an update on this post in the summer, because I'm going to see these for myself. So yeah. I'm going to go look for these things during the summer because that's when they're seen the most. I'm going to do it in a safe way and plan ahead. Also, I'm going to try to do it live, like on YouTube or something, just in case I do see something so you can as well. It just sucks having to wait for a full 6 months. Thank you for listening to the end of the video, my dear lovely listeners. All of you that listened to this point, I love every single one of you. You're amazing people. You guys are the ones that make me feel better about what I do, honestly. I hope you guys enjoyed those 5 cryptid stories. There's some pretty interesting things. Cryptids are always kind of one of those things where it's like, does it exist, does it not? But at the same time, even if this anecdotal evidence is only half right, some interesting things exist, just saying. If you enjoyed the video, please do hit that thumbs up button to let me know you enjoyed it. And if you really, really enjoyed the video, you can hit that subscribe button to subscribe to my channel and get more content just like this. Lastly, you can leave me a comment to let me know how you're doing, and let me know what you thought of the video, and let me know if you've seen any cryptids. You can do that by finding the link down at the bottom, where I have a page where you can submit your stories. Also down there are the sources for all these stories, and links to my Twitter, subreddit, and Facebook. All that said, friends, I hope you have a fantastic day and a fantastic week. I love every single one of you. Stay safe out there, and sleep well.